Hello friends, Ryan Landino here, and I welcome you to part 2 of our spiritual practices class at the Covenant Gathering, which is virtual this year. Part of what we're going to do for this second part is to look at prayer practices. When I was first beginning my spiritual journey, one of the best pieces of advice that I had heard when I was struggling about what to say during a prayer was just talk. Just talk. And it reminded me about how prayer is simply just communication with the divine. But there are two pieces of it. There's not just the talking, but there's also the listening. So what I'm going to do is introduce to you 9 different prayer practices.
9 prayer practices
that are going to reflect both the talking and the listening side of communicating with the divine. Now, some of these you might look at and go, well, that's not really prayer. A lot of the listening end of prayer is self-emptying, is getting ourselves out of our own way so that we can hear what God is naturally speaking. Because each of us are made differently, I am drawing inspiration on Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, which basically states that there are roughly 9 different ways of all of us connecting to each other and connecting to the world that help us to learn differently. Some of us are great with words, some of us need to be in our own heads, some of us need to be talking to others. I try to reflect that in the prayer practices. Of the 9 million different ways there are to pray, here are 9 for you to explore with me now. One form of prayer that I don't think we appreciate as much as we should is when we engage pre-written prayers and we let them be our prayer. And we can call this pre-praying. First, this was the way that Jesus taught us to pray. He gave us an actual pre-prayed prayer. It would become the Lord's Prayer. That's both in the book of Matthew and Luke, and we would pray that. This is where I really appreciate these kinds of prayers is in the event of a tragedy or something that's really difficult going on. And we may not quite have the words yet to describe the pain that we're in and the grief that we're feeling. And that's a beautiful time to share a prayer. A lot of wonderful authors and theologians have shared amazing prayers. One of my favorites is from this book called Glory Happening. It's by Caitlin B. Curtis. She is a Native American Christian author, and I just love her very grounded way of praying. I tend to lose this book all the time because I put it in every suitcase of every conference I ever go on. The next prayer practice we want to try is through prayer journaling. And we're going to take the lead from St. Ignatius on this. So what I'd like to invite you to try is to address these 2 questions. Where have I felt closest to God? And where have I felt furthest from God? Ooh, real quick, the trick to this one is do not raise your pen. Just keep on writing, keep on flowing, even if you make a mistake, even if you don't like your word choice, even if you need to switch gears in the middle of the sentence, just freely pray. That is the best way to keep yourself out of your own way. One of the oldest expressions of prayer has been praying with your body. One prayer form that I like is just using the famous power poses where you just stretch out your body and fill the space for about 30 seconds just to feel God's love and God's eyes around you and on you in that space. Other traditions, such as our Catholic and our Muslim siblings, are much more involving of their body in their prayer forms. And then another form is simply kneeling. In the past, Christians have used uncomfortable positions in order to feel with their body the discomfort of their own sin. There are ways that you can use your body to incorporate what it's feeling into your prayer. This next prayer is a kind of grounding prayer where I invite you to use all of your senses to just feel everything that is happening around you in your environment. Feel the grass through your feet. Feel your body supported by your chair. Feel the fabric of your clothes on your body. Hear the birds and the wind. Hear the car that is driving by as they see you doing this grounding activity in the middle of your backyard. This next one is praying with color. You don't use words, you pray with color. And whatever comes into mind, you just freely express your prayer through color. And then just let your prayer go wherever it leads you. Now, for those of you who are experienced with using rosaries, you might find this familiar, but there is a form of prayer that we can call repetition prayer. And what you can do is it's basically saying one essential truth that you want to get into your bones, and you want to repeat it again and again and again. If you don't have a rosary, what you can do is you can take a pencil, and then what you want to do is you want to follow your fingertips and repeat a truth that you want to get into your bones repeatedly as you work down the pencil, and then just go right back up to the top. And sometimes it's good, you can do that like 5 or 10 pencil lengths. In the past, in tradition, people have said, Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. But let's say for this time, Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. So we'll do this. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. And then back up to the top. Jesus Christ, here with me, remind me again you love me. We saw this particular prayer used in one of my favorite Star Wars movies, Rogue One, where you have the Jedi Protector who would say, I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. And he'd say that again and again and again. That is a truth about his faith that's in his bones because he did that repeatedly. So go ahead, you can try that one. Now this prayer is a little bit different, but what you do is you print off some favorite scripture verses, mark with color any patterns that you find in the scripture. I always start with yellow for the names of God. From there, you want to then go any other patterns that you see and mark with like color. Any verbs that God is telling the main characters to do. Who are the different characters in this passage? What are the different images that are being used? Any other patterns that you find. From looking at the verbs in this passage, a prayer emerges. To lie down, walk, don't fear, eat, be anointed, live, and be comforted. That might be a prayer I need right now. Another prayer practice I've come to value is partner prayer, where you ask a partner to share prayer with you. Hi, Carla. How you doing? So, how can I pray for you these days, Carla?
Well, with all the craziness in the world, I guess I need prayers for peace and prayers for understanding. For me, it's just been really heavy on my heart because I don't know what to do about it. Well, how can I pray for you, Ryan?
Ooh, if you could pray that I can stay grounded and focused with everything that's going on, but also can find some rest along the way, I would really appreciate that.
Pray for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And also, yes, I do invite you to use music to pray. Pick music, any song that you want, and let that be your prayer. You can kind of put your brain and your heart on autopilot and let someone else do the praying for you in order to help you move out of your own way. And no, I will not tell you what song I'm listening to. This is my prayer. Those are simply 9 ways to both speak and to listen to the divine in prayer. Any of these can become a regular spiritual practice. I will confess that 3 of them are ones that I do as a regular prayer practice before every sermon that I do. I pray with music, I pray with my body, and I also use the prayer through scripture, using the color the way that I showed you. Everybody has their own spiritual practices, everybody has their own prayer practices. So this is what I'd like to do with those who will be joining us for the Zoom call later this afternoon. Number 1, I would love you to try 2 of any of the prayers that I presented, especially ones that you maybe have never tried before and that you've never seen before. Give it a shot and see how it goes. And then we'll talk later about how that landed for you. And the second one is, I want to hear what your prayer practices are. I want to hear the ones that you feel most at home with, and what has been most enriching for you in being in open and continuous conversation with the divine. And this is a good time to be in prayer, especially with all of the heaviness that we're carrying in the world, whether it's for societal injustice around racism or the pandemic and the impacts on our lives. Now is a really good time to be in prayer. May we stay connected to each other and stay connected to the divine.